Right before she died, Grace Cahill changed her will. What no one knew was that along with her lawyer she was keeping a great secret. Will we find out what it is during this book? Grace Cahill is dead, and her grandchildren are on their way to bury her. Here's where we meet the two siblings, Dan and Amy. Dan loves collecting things, while Amy loves to read. You could say that they are quite different. Turns out that Grace had decided that only certain members of the Cahill clan should be offered the chance to participate in a contest. However, no one was forced to participate. They could always decline. The specific group of people that were selected could either work alone, in groups, or decide that they didn't want a part in any of that. If they declined the challenge, they would get $1 million. But if they accepted, they would be giving up that amount of money for the first clue out of 39. Amy needed it for college, but after discussing it, they agreed that they would take up the challenge. After all, that's what Grace would have wanted for them. But the contest was dangerous, and they really didn't know what they had signed up for. Once they gave up their money, they finally got the first clue. The fine print to guess Seek Richard S. The Cahills were divided in 4 branches: the Ekaterina, the Janus, the Thomas, and the Lucian. They could all be dangerous, but Grace wanted her grandchildren to know that they had to watch out for the Madrigals, although nor Amy or Dan knew who they were. After hearing this, Dan and Amy went to the mansion's library because they thought that they'd be able to discover the first clue there. What they didn't expect was that Alistair O would catch them there and ask the kids for help. While in the library, Dan discovered a secret passage.
There was a hidden library in the secret passage that had been found. In it, there were lots of books, and Amy felt like she could figure out the first clue there. While they were in the library, Amy and Dan found Saladin, Grace's cat, and a jewelry box that belonged to her too. This made the children feel closer to her, even though she was gone. In their time down there, Amy decoded the first clue. It talked about Benjamin Franklin. They found one of the many books he had written, Poor Richard's Almanac, it was called, and discovered that their mother and other Cahills had written some notes in the book, possibly to help them in their quest. While Alistair was looking at the book, Amy noticed that the library was going to burn down. Fortunately, Amy, Dan, and Saladin managed to get out of there before they burned down completely. But the entire mansion burned down to the ground, and Alistair had taken the book with him. After the fire, Dan and Amy realized that they needed a trustworthy adult that wouldn't betray them like Uncle Alistair did, but could still help them in their quest. After much thinking, they decided to ask Nellie, their babysitter, who could drive them around and help them get airplane tickets to keep looking for the clues all around the world. After convincing Nellie, Dan and Amy went to their house to start packing so they could get going. Except Dan didn't know what to pack. He didn't want to leave everything he ever knew behind. But he also knew that they were going to need a lot of money. So Dan decided to sell his collection of cards and coins, and after much thinking, decided to only take with him the most important thing, a picture of his parents. And meanwhile, none the wiser to them, the rest of the Cahills were planning to get rid of them. The following day, Amy and Dan left their home for good and went to a car rental to rent a car, and unexpectedly received a note from Mr. McIntyre asking them to meet with him at the Independence Hall in the afternoon, with the condition that they found a clue first. Amy didn't want to go at first, but Dan did, and he convinced her. However, if they wanted to meet with him, they had to find the information first. So they chose to go to another library to study Benjamin Franklin's life, in hopes to understanding the first clue and possibly finding the next. Amy managed to read a scroll written by him and decoded their next clue. So, while they were preparing to leave the library and go meet Mr. McIntyre, another group of Cahills that Dan and Amy didn't know were following them confronted them and were about to steal their clue. But before they could, the library exploded. Thankfully, Dan and Amy survived and left the ruins behind them, not before noticing the same man that they saw after the mansion caught fire.